Right here, at home. Protect your out. We put the work in. Let's finish. Come on, man. Let's do this. Family, I'll do 1, 2, 3.
You see, we dream chase, cause that's all we was given to start with. Then we realized the dream was obtainable. Now look at us.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for being here with us because you already know we truly appreciate it. What's going on, Eagles Nation and TMTP family? Welcome to the Main Thing Podcast Presents. It's your boy, Mr. Owens. And after further review, the call stands. I'm still official with no stripes.
How's everybody doing, Eagles family? This is your man, Big Huss, the one you trust, bringing you all your Philadelphia Eagles latest. Hey, man, free agency started up on Monday.
Ooh.
The new leagues, the official new league year starts up today, Wednesday, March 12th.
At 4 p.m.
At 4 p.m., you feel me? So it's that time, man. It's that time. The 2025 season has begun. And we've already made a few moves, lost some people. So, you know, we'll dive in and talk about that. Quick before we get that started, the Eagles have recently accepted the invite to the White House. So I know there's a whole bunch of back and forth on that. If you haven't heard, they will be in attendance. They're still trying to work out the time and the wins, you know, and all that. But they will be going. But shoot, how you feeling, Mr. Owens?
First off, before we get into the video, Big Huss, to our supporters, our loyal supporters, and the new supporters checking out our channel for the first time, make sure y'all liking the videos. Make sure y'all leaving comments in the comment section. Also, make sure that y'all are subscribing and sharing this content with your family and friends. And also, don't forget to turn on that notification bell so you don't miss any videos when we drop these things. But Big Huss, news has been flying around in this NFL offseason, man. It's interesting because usually we're the aggressors when it comes down to the NFL offseason. But as we know, we're the last team to not have signed a free agent. As you touched on, Big Huss, we have lost a few pieces here over the past couple days. A lot of the pieces mainly on the defensive side of the football. So really, I'm just intrigued to see how Howie is going to make these moves. What his plan is for the 2025 offseason, because as we mentioned before, we've never really been in this position before, Big Huss, especially now that we have our roster and it really doesn't have too many holes. But we all know Howie has asked for patience. That was the first thing that he said at the combine. He asked for patience. He said that this is probably going to be a unconventional way of doing things this off season. But in Howie we trust. Howie and Howie we trust, because you got to think this is the guy with the help of Jeffrey Lurie, Nick Sirianni, the whole Eagles organization, that we have been to 3 Super Bowls in the past 7 seasons. So if it was any other GM, I will be kind of alarmed. I'll probably ring the alarm bell and it'll probably be some red flags. I'm like, hey, look, I don't know if the GM really knows what he's doing. But when Howie asks us to trust him, that's all we can do as Eagle fans, bro. All we can do is trust him. But again, I just want to see the direction of where we're going. And I know that Howie is going to get the pieces in place before the season starts.
No, for sure. And I think it's more so that for me, the direction, because as you just touched on, if it was anybody else, because when you look at it just straight on, you could say us and the 49ers are kind of going maybe through something similar. getting rid of a lot of pieces. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's kind of scratching their head. What are they doing? But the major difference is Howie Roseman. Howie Roseman isn't John Lynch and all. He is in a tier, you could say, of his own. 3 Super Bowls in the past 7 years. You won 2 of them. Different quarterbacks, different head coaches, different roster construction completely, if you want to be honest. And you were still able to walk away with 2 rings. So, in Howie we trust, yes, it is looking very unconventional. Like I said, part of me is sitting here like, what are we doing? What the hell is going on? And you know what I'm saying? But I know Howie has something cooking. You're not busting all these moves for no reason. So yes, like as he said, be patient with him. We will. It's just I'm very interested to see what the splash move will be and how he's going to construct this 2025 roster, because at the end of the day, Super Bowl aspirations are still on the table.
Mm-hmm.
This team is still ready to go win a ring. You know what I'm saying? So we'll see what he does. But let's get into some of these free agent moves. You had already touched on Zach Bond, so we won't go into that too much. You know what I mean? $51 million contract. I believe it was $1.5 billion in incentives and escalators per sources. Well deserved. We knew Zach Bond was the number one guy who had to come back. So how we doing in Howie's unconventional things, signing running back, signing linebackers, you know what I mean? It's looking a little different, but he's bringing back the key pieces. So I'm glad to see him get that done. I would say so far, as far as free agency in the offseason, that's probably been the move, the biggest move. But some of these losses, man, ooh, you want to go ahead. I have to see how he reloads in some form or fashion. But you want to go ahead and talk about some of these losses?
For sure. So obviously, if you haven't been living under a rock, we have lost a few pieces, as we mentioned, mainly on the defensive side of the football. So I want to start with Milton Williams. Congratulations to him. He deserves his payday, and now gets the opportunity to showcase his talent to not only the Philadelphia Eagles organization, but the world, with the Patriots signing a 4-year, $104 million contract. As we know, here in Philadelphia, Milton Williams didn't have that much opportunity to showcase his talents, being behind Jalen Carter and also being behind Jordan Davis, 2 first-round picks, actually 2 consecutive first-round picks back to back. But like we mentioned before, Milton Williams, every time he got into the game, he always showed flashes. He has a high motor, great instinctive football player. He would definitely be missed, but as we all know, that's somebody who, with how we building in the trenches, we know that we love our trenches. We have Moro Jomo, even though he's a unproven commodity. We saw it's kind of similar, Huss. What Moro Jomo did this year is kind of what Milton Williams has done over the past few seasons. Shows flash after flash after flash,
True. I like
making plays. You see what I'm saying? So I'm excited to see what Moro Jomo can do. But like I said, Milton Williams definitely deserves to get his money and be able to showcase his talent in the NFL.
And look, as you touched on Moro Jomo, per Elliott Shore Parks, 342 pass rush snaps. He has an 18.2% pass rush win rate. That would have been the best on the team, or was the best on the team, excuse me. So I know we're losing Milton, but Moro Jomo, like as you said, in a smaller sample size, not quite the snaps everyone else had, but has shown that he had some success. So you pair him along with Jalen Carter, and I'm sure we either draft somebody or perhaps we bring back a Javon Hargrave to put into that mix of that interior D line. But I don't think we'll be too bad off. Yes, losing Milton was a blow because Milton was a dog, man. He was one. He was going to win his one-on-one, but he got a well-deserved contract. Moro Jomo, it's your time, baby.
It's your time, bro. And then for him to be a 7th-round pick,
facts. Yeah.
That says a lot. That speaks volumes. So you already know anytime you're drafted after like what, the 3rd or 4th round, you're basically literally fighting for a roster spot. You're behind the 8 ball. So for him, I'm interested to see his work ethic, for him knowing that, okay, it's a hole here now. Like, as you mentioned, it's his time to prove his worth. And we were hoping for a reunion, Big Huss, but just yesterday, Javon Hargrave signed with the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, I missed that one.
Yes, signed with the Minnesota Vikings. They got him and Jonathan Allen.
Ooh, I like that. I saw where Jonathan Allen went there. Javon Hargrave must have happened later in the evening then.
He did. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's so funny too, Huss, because the Vikings, instead of spending that money on Sam Darnold and running it back with him, they took the money that they would have spent on Sam Darnold and try to bolster up their defense.
I mean, because at the end of the day, everybody saw what we just did in the Super Bowl. Like, I'm gonna keep it a beat. Everybody just saw what we did in the Super Bowl in the trenches and just overall during that game. And they want to emulate that. They are literally looking at the Eagles blueprint. We're like, okay, Jalen Carter, Mauro Jomo, Milton Williams, Oren Burks, Nolan. And they got a nice little front seven going over there. Okay, this is what we need to do. Because we can put up points, but our defense is sus. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. I'm not surprised. A lot of teams, especially they're a team where they have a bunch of young talent over there. They could and should be competitive for the next several years. So they're trying to capitalize on that moment. And that's honestly, those are 2 great pickups for them. Jonathan Allen can still play, especially talking about being a run defender. So, but I'm gonna say something. They cool though.
Yeah. They cool.
They cool though. Those are solid pickups.
For sure. And then the next person that we lost obviously was Josh Sweat. He got a 4-year, $76.4 million deal. We know he's going to Arizona with a coach that will not be named on this channel. But obviously he's reconnecting with him. He had a solid year under that coach that's not going to be named here in 2022, the Super Bowl year. But with Josh Sweat, I like Josh Sweat. I liked him coming out of Florida State. Obviously, he was the #1 overall recruited high school player coming out of Virginia, the Virginia Beach area. With Josh Sweat, with me though, because I never questioned his motor. I never questioned his passion and love for the game. It's just he'll sometimes start fast, and then midway through the season, towards the end of the season, he kind of tails off, because even this year, we didn't really hear much about Josh Sweat. He didn't, I think, get his first sack until, I want to say, midway through the season, if I'm not mistaken. And then obviously he had his playoff run. But to be playing a edge rusher, that type of money, I need to see production on a week in and week out basis. It shouldn't be to the point where you're the veteran in the edge rusher room, and majority of the time that we're having our videos and discussing moves, Big Huss, and discussing the game, we're talking more about Nolan Smith, who's in his 2nd year. That's the issue I had with Josh Sweat. Sometimes he comes up too small when we need him to make plays and need him to be that alpha edge rusher or that veteran presence on the edge to make plays. He came up too small. But like I said, congratulations to him. Him and Milton, like we said, they will forever be Super Bowl champions. You won't be able to take that away, but I'm excited for obviously Jalix Hunt to fill in that role, or wherever we're looking at for edge rusher, whether via trade, draft, or training camp. But I'm excited for the young dogs to finally get their shot and show what their worth is.
And that's pretty much what it is. We have so much young talent. If I'm not mistaken, we only have 2 players on our defense over the age of 25 right now, as it currently sits. We wanted to get younger. And look, Josh Sweat, through the ups and downs of the season, when he's great and then he kind of disappears and maybe comes back on, he was always good for a good 7 to 10 sacks, 6 to 10 sacks, or whatever it may be. So that will be missed. But the players that we have behind them and with the moves in which we're trying to make, we couldn't afford to pay Josh Sweat. What was it, 19 million or so a year? You know what I'm saying? It's just 19 million is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Don't get it twisted. It's well deserved. He deserved that money he took deals. I mean, he's worked. He's a hard worker, and he's had a production over his course of time with the Eagles. It was just we have young talent that needs to see the field. So unfortunately, he was one of those guys. If he'd have took a pay cut, I'm sure we would have brought him back. Like I said, you're guaranteed 8 sacks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, but I believe Josh is 26, 27 now, somewhere along those lines, if I'm not mistaken. And we just couldn't afford that ticket, man. That's a steep ticket. But I believe Drew Rosenhaus negotiated that for him. You know, Drew Rosenhaus, he gets his players paid. I don't know what he tells these teams. He gets his players paid. So well deserved. Congrats to Josh Sweat. Honestly, he's gonna have success out there in Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
With that guy. He's gonna have success out there. You know what I mean? Blessings on your future, big fella.
And Josh Sweat is 27.
27.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so not old, but 20 mil for what he was giving. Granted, stellar Super Bowl. But for what he was giving, it was steep tag, Mo.
Mm-hmm.
Steep tag, but that was the market. So unfortunately, he was a cap casualty.
Yep. And then we got Isaiah Rodgers with a 2-year, $15 million contract with the Minnesota Vikings, as we discussed earlier in the video, because the Vikings are going all in on defense. And to add on to your point, the league looked and saw what we did and said that, oh, that's the blueprint. To be great, you have to have an excellent defense. So now that's why you're seeing a lot of defenders flying off the free agency board and signing with new teams, and they're just throwing money around like it ain't nobody's business, bro.
No, I think they're one of the teams they might have spent the most so far in free agency, if I'm not mistaken. So far, they look, they know where they're lacking, and they're trying to make up for it. And look, they will. When you look back at it, the defense wasn't bad last year. It just wasn't our defense. Our defense set the tone, you know what I mean, for every defense, especially after that bye week. Mm-hmm. Every defense wanted to be the Philadelphia Eagles defense. You know, so teams are trying to remake that. Unfortunately, it won't be the same. But Isaiah Rodgers, congrats to him, because he gets another opportunity to go somewhere, actually play, you got yourself some money, 2-year, 15 mil, I believe about 8 mil guaranteed or so. So you got a little bag, you got an opportunity to make yourself some more money because he's still fairly young. And a defense that should be pretty good. And truthfully, in a conference where he should actually have some success.
Right.
Going against some of the offenses that he'll be going against up there. So, man, congrats to him. I'm just glad that he got another opportunity. I would have loved to have kept him. I'm not going to lie to you. If not to start, just for a depth piece. But, hey, man, these dudes are well deserving of the money being thrown away. You can't be mad at somebody for going and chasing a bag.
Mm-hmm. And in 2 years, Huss, like you said, congrats to him, and we're proud of him, because for those who don't know about Isaiah Rodgers, he was basically suspended from the league for an entire season. He previously played with the Indianapolis Colts. Howie being Howie, he knew a year out, he put in a flyer on him. We signed him, and then once his suspension was over, he came with the Philadelphia Eagles and contributed in a very big way, because obviously we know Big Play Slade went in and out the lineup of like nobody's business, and then Isaiah Rodgers had to fill in and did quite well. But like you said, man, he's going to have an opportunity to make plays, be able to solidify his name as a household name in Minnesota. So I'm just proud and glad that from what he has came from, as I said, 2 years ago to where he is now, he definitely deserves it.
Absolutely. Congrats to him.
Mm-hmm.
Good to see you in the fan, Brody.
For sure. And the last one, Big Huss, well, not the last one, but Oren Burks, 2 years, $5 million with the Bengals. I know that was your boy, bro.
I ain't gonna lie to you. This one kind of hurt a little bit, Brody. Like, and not saying, once again, this is a guy where, shoot, 2 years ago you were in the Super Bowl getting cooked up. by the Chiefs. Like I'm gonna keep it a bean. To this year with the Eagles, you come in, Nakobe Dean gets hurt late in the year, and you have to play damn near throughout the end of the season through the playoffs. My man was doing his thing. My man was straight doing his thing, and he deserves to have the opportunity to start somewhere because he's shown that he can play. The brother man was making plays. 2 years, $5 million. It's just I would have liked to have kept him once again for a depth piece, especially with Nakobe Dean being on the mend. They say he may be back in the season, but when you look at the history and the road to recovery that goes along with those type of injuries, it usually takes about a year and a half, 2 years. So you're saying you might not see Nakobe Dean to that 2026 season. We have one starter right now at linebacker, and that's Zach Bond. And granted, he's an all-pro, but you have another vacancy. I don't know if you plug in a Ben Van Sumer, another guy who's coming off an injury. Or you plug in a Trotter Jr., an Axeman Jr. And maybe it speaks more so to that. They're looking at Axeman like, hey, we like what we saw of you last year. Granted, it was spot play, you know what I mean? Wasn't a lot, but instinctive around the ball, you know what I mean? Was making plays. Maybe it speaks to the level of play and the upside they see in him. But and maybe they do feel good about Nakobe Dean's recovery. You know what I mean? Just to let this guy go. It's just I would have liked to have kept him in the building. I like what he brung, not only in the starting play that he had throughout the playoffs, but on special teams, bro. He was a good linebacker.
He brought energy.
Yeah, bro, but well deserving of an opportunity to go and start somewhere.
For sure. And one person I do trust, if it's anybody dealing with linebackers, is Big Fangio, obviously. That's his specialty. That's his favorite position. So I trust his eyes. I trust what he knows about these linebackers and be able to make the right decision for us to move forward and continue to build on this number one defense. And it's just funny to me because real quick that our team is so good. Our roster is so loaded that backups, people who we sign 1 year deals,
that's crazy.
They be third, fourth on the depth chart. It ain't like we're losing. Like, yeah, obviously we name starters, but Isaiah Rodgers, Orrin Burks, they were mainly on special teams before they were thrusted into play. And the fact that they're getting money literally shows the type of organization we are, the type of coaches we have, the type of players and the culture that we set. But like we said, congrats to them. They definitely deserve to get more playing time and be able to showcase their abilities and talents.
Absolutely. And then the last one's our free agent moves, which isn't quite a move yet, but it's on the table. Big play. We're supposed to be heading out to the Steelers. But I'm not sure if the Steelers have quite given him a contract yet. I haven't seen any numbers on what's going on there. So they haven't signed him yet, but supposedly he's supposed to be going with the Steelers per, I forget who put that information out there. It might have been Jeremy Fowler. Don't quote me on that. But with him not being signed yet, we're talking about we need some cornerback depth. I'm sure we're going to grab some cornerbacks in this year's draft. Still an opportunity for Slay to come back if he has not put ink to paper.
Yeah, and like you said, Huss, where I have also been seeing a lot of reports about him going to the Steelers, but we haven't released him yet. But they do plan to release him actually today, allowing the Eagles to designate Slay as a post June 1st release, and now be able to spread the 13.7 plus million in dead money over the 2025 and 2026 seasons.
Yeah, and with that post June 1st release, they save about 4.3 million. So saving a little money. And look, once again, that's not to say if he doesn't sign with the Steelers, that is, you can't bring him back on a cheaper deal. You know what I'm saying? Releasing him now was just freeing up some cap space for us to make whatever other move we want to make. You know what I'm saying? So I would keep an eye out for that one. That's kind of interesting. Usually, you know what I mean, when you go in and say you're signing the player, you actually sign the player. It's not like hesitation with the numbers, you know what I mean, all the litigation, paperwork and stuff. So we'll see how that goes.
And Huss, we lost the last one late last night again to the Pittsburgh Steelers, the team across the Keystone State. We lost Kenny G.
Yeah, I saw that.
We lost Kenny G, man. And to our supporters that don't know how me and Hus feel about Kenny G, we truly, truly love Kenny Gainwell. From him being drafted out of Memphis, a lot of people didn't even know that he's Fletcher Cox
Yep.
cousin.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And Fletcher Cox kind of vouched to the Eagles organization to take Kenny Gainwell, and I could see why he vouched for the Eagles organization to take him. Kenny is the type, if you ask anybody, even Lane Johnson had said it, he's the unsung hero. Nobody really talks about what Kenny does, whether that be on special teams, whether that's him running the football, whether that's him doing pass blocking in the pocket and blocking the linebackers, the blitzing linebackers or the edge players and things like that. Kenny embodies Philadelphia to me. He comes with his lunch pail, he comes with his hard hat on, and he works. He works. Kenny is one of them type that we always said that we don't know if he can be an every down back, but for a back, for a number 2 running back and to spell running backs, he's perfect. Perfect, matter of fact, perfect change of pace back. But with him in Pittsburgh, he's going to have a huge opportunity because they just lost Najee Harris. So he's going to be over there with Warren. He's going to have a opportunity. Yeah, we like Warren. Yeah. He's going to have an opportunity to carve out a more significant role in Pittsburgh's offense. But with Kenny being here, he signed a 1-year deal in Pittsburgh, so it's probably not a lot of money. He's probably going to either do very well in Pittsburgh and sign a bigger contract back in Pittsburgh, or test the free agency market again. But in 4 years here in Philadelphia, Big Hus, Kenny Gainwell totaled 1,906 yards and 13 touchdowns. You couldn't ask for any much more from your RB2. So I'm proud of him. Congratulations to him, and I wish him well in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, like I said, we love KG, man. Kenny is your jack of all trades, your do it all back, like you said, special teams, running the ball, catching the ball, tackling, whatever needs to be done. KG can get that thing done. Kenny Gainwell can get it done for real. Mr. Consistent, when you needed a play and you called his number, he made the play. And that's all I can ask for. And he did it consistently. So yeah, he'll be missed. That's going to leave another hole in that RB room. So I'm sure we'll be bringing in another running back, whether through the draft or free agency or trade or whatever it may be. But yeah, that's a big one.
That one kind of hurt, bro.
Yeah, that one kind of hurt. That one might not make headlines like that, but what Kenny has meant to this team over his 4 years here cannot be denied. Truthfully. So, but hey, shout out to you, KG. Congrats, bro. Proud of you. Do your thing out there, except for when you play Philly. And you know what I'm saying? But nah, shout out to you, bro.
Congrats. For sure. And Hus, we have to talk to our supporters and just the Eagles nation in general. When we said earlier, when we said Howie said be patient, we really have to be patient because y'all don't understand the reason why we lost a lot of these free agents is because we don't have all the money to pay them. We have to remember that we paid QB1, we paid AJ, we paid Smitty, we paid Saquon, we paid majority of the offensive line, if not the whole offensive line, and now Zach Bond. And then you got to think we're scheduled because the young dogs are coming up, such as a Jalen Carter, who's going to break the market. He's going to reset the market for defensive tackle. Then also Jordan Davis. Then you're going to have Quinyon. Then you're going to have Coop. And then we're going to have Reed next year because this is Reed's last year. So we're positioning ourselves to pay him.
Don't forget about Morrow.
I think he's in his second season though.
My opinion, Howie likes to get ahead of things
early.
So, very well.
Yeah.
But go ahead. To your point, hey, money. Howie does Houdini moves, but money is limited.
True. So It sucks to lose these type of caliber of players, and it sucks to lose just players in general to free agency and leaving your organization. But we've always, as you pointed out, Huss, been a forward thinking organization. We always like to get ahead of the curve and pay our players and keep our players here. But the beautiful thing is we have a young core and a young talented football team that we're going to have to pay in these upcoming years. But the number one thing that I love is we're keeping our nucleus, the core pieces in place. Yeah, we're losing a couple other players and things like that along the roster, but as long as we have that nucleus and that core, we'll be fine.
And that's what it's about. Yeah, I mean, like you said, keeping the nucleus together and hey, trusting in your coaches to coach these new guys and these young guys up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like getting into our next move with the CJ Gardner-Johnson trade, you know. So look, Eagles traded CJ Gardner-Johnson to the Texans in exchange for guard Kenyon Green. Eagles will receive a 2026 fifth round pick. The Texans will get a 2026 sixth round pick. Right? But when you look at this trade, most Eagle fans are sitting here like, what the hell are we doing right now? You know what I'm saying? The dude, Kenyon Green, hasn't been good. Yeah, I mean, although he was a first round pick, and honestly, it was a first round pick kind of via some moves we made. We traded with them to trade to get Jordan Davis 2 picks later. They picked Kenyon Green, you know, but he hasn't had great success in the league. Last season, Pro Football Focus ranks him the 76th best guard out of 77. So first round pick, but bottom of the barrel production right now. But you don't make a move like this if you're not trusting in your coaching staff, i.e. for this situation of Jeff Stoutland, to get this player right. You know what I'm saying? So it's not only just bringing the talent, it's the trust that Howie, Jeff Lurie have with this coaching staff. And, you know, I mean, I'm sure it's reciprocating to the team and everything else that, yeah, as long as we keep our nucleus together, you know what I'm saying, we can bring in maybe some of this lesser talent, you know what I'm saying, or lesser talent with better upside and kind of maybe get the best out of them. When you look at it, that's what we've been doing for the past several years. Bringing in players who might have been disgruntled, or maybe you're on your last leg somewhere, Mekhi Becton, or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Or you're being doubted, a Saquon. You know what I mean? Because when we made that move, folks, man, Saquon, that's not a needle mover, like a running back, da-da-da-da-da. He comes in, he goes bonkers. What else? Resets the market as far as running backs are paid. We revitalized Mekhi Becton's career. Shoot, we talk about Zach Bond. He was a special teamer literally up until he got to Philly. So this is what we do. So although the Kenyon Green, and look, I was one of those, once again, when we made it, I was just, I don't know about this one. CJ, for all the antics and off the field stuff or whatever, you know what I mean, via the social media world, when he plays, bro, he brings that energy. He brings the turnovers. He brings that level of toughness that this defense needs. But we have to trust in Howie, be patient. As he mentioned, we keep going back to that, be patient, and just trust in the team, the organization, the coaching staff, that they know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. And you already know us. CJ definitely will be missed. When he got released, he said it was a shock to him. He thought it was like April Fool's Day. You feel me? He said that he had a great phone call with the organization. He just asked his one wish be that he's traded to somewhere where he can play, compete in winning football. And he said that he literally got the call or the text message saying that he's going to Houston. But it's from CJ's mouth himself. He said that it's no bad blood within the organization. He loves everything. He said he would forever be an Eagle. And I know it's hard for us to get rid of that type of talent. He's passion, he's hungry, he's fiery on the field. But obviously we don't know what happened behind the scenes. But again, we got to trust in Howie making these moves, and obviously, if anybody can revitalize a career, it's definitely Jeff Stoutland in terms of Kenyon Green. Kenyon Green coming out of high school, he was actually the number one ranked recruit. And no, I'm sorry, he was the number one ranked recruit in Texas. Actually, he was ranked ahead of Garrett Wilson, receiver. And then also, it's funny, a fun fact, he was ranked ahead of Lewis Seen, who is currently on our roster. So I thought that was kind of funny, but I'm looking forward, like you said, PFF rated him very low and graded him very low, but this was the same talk about Mekhi Becton coming out of New York. Oh, he's a bust. He can't play in the league. And we saw what that happened. So I'm excited for Kenyon Green, but more so I'm just hurt with CJ GJ, because when we let him go the first time, we were like, dang, man, like we couldn't make up this money and try to get him to come back. Like he's the heartbeat. Like he gets everybody fired up on the defense. Then we get him back and everybody was jumping for joy. Then we won the Super Bowl. And then now he's back out the door again. But one thing that you can say about CJ Gardner-Johnson is, one, he's a Super Bowl champion.
Absolutely.
And two, the 2 years that he was here in Philadelphia, we went to the Super Bowl both years. So having him on the back end, of course, we haven't had that type of safety play since the Brian Dawkins, since the Quentin McHale's, the Michael Lewis's. We have to go back in the day for that. But it stings a little bit, Big Huss. He will definitely be missed, but best wishes to him in Houston.
Nah, for sure. Like you said, we may be in the market for safety now. Like I said, between the 2 years he was here, if I'm not mistaken, that's 12 interceptions. That's a lot of interceptions in 2 seasons with a ball club. So a lot of production. He will be missed, but like I said, best wishes to him. He's going down there to the Texans. Look, they have a loaded defense too, especially on that back end. They got some ballers. I'm sure he'll have much success.
And with D'Amico being a head coach, bro.
Oh yeah,
you already know what they're going. Come on now,
Philly guy, man. I know what's up. You know, so I'm sure he will. I'm sure, honestly, he'll probably fit right in down there. Because if they signed another formal knuckerhead down there, first round pick of the Eagles and defensive end, cuz what's my man's name?
Derek Barnett.
Derek Barnett. There we go. They just brought him back. So they like those type players down there, clearly. Those edgy players, head case type guys. But all love though. All love.
And then we're going to get into the final trade that has happened this offseason. One of your guys. It's like, let me stop playing. We got a Kenny Pickett being traded to the Cleveland Browns. When we thought we were making a trade with the Browns, we didn't expect this trade. We thought we were getting back somebody else in Myles Garrett, but we obviously saw, he said money didn't mean a lot. He wanted to go play with a winning organization, but then we saw once they threw that money to him,
money talk.
He ponied up and BS
won. 40 million a year. He said, you know what? Winning's not a big deal.
It ain't everything. I have this money to fall back on.
You win some, you lose some. But that 40 mil,
but you live. You live to fight another day. But yeah, Kenny Pickett got traded to the Browns for a 2025 fifth round pick and quarterback Dorian Thompson Robinson DTR out of UCLA, who I kind of liked coming out of UCLA. Definitely has some intangibles, and then also has is kind of a mold of a QB1. We all know that Howie always said that he wants to be a quarterback factory, and Howie is turning into a quarterback factory. Obviously, we have our franchise quarterback in QB1, but having your second or third string quarterback where they could come into our organization, grow, learn, pick people's brains and to improve their game, and then flip them for draft picks and things like that. Who would have thought that when we signed Kenny Pickett that we would be able to trade Kenny Pickett? He played one game in Dallas. I mean, when we played Dallas and Philly, one game.
Started that one game.
One start. You see what I'm saying? And then we flipped him for, to me, a better quarterback than him. and then also a 5th-round pick. So that's just Howie, Willen, and Dylan, trying to fill out the roster. But now this is a move where moving off of Kenny Pickett, that bumps up our guy, our man's Tanner McKee, to QB2.
Yeah, and that's what I love really with this move. Obviously, Kenny Pickett, at least from his one game and his spot start with us, had some success, but I was never really a fan. I always thought Tanner McKee showed more upside, even when he was playing in the preseason games. It's just like something about this kid. This kid can play. Yeah, I mean, bigger body guy, allows him to see the field a little bit better. But Tanner McKee getting this opportunity to officially be QB2, I think is well deserving, man. I think the team would agree. As you mentioned, when we were talking about trades with the Browns, I wasn't expecting this one. But we did know at some point we were going to move off of whether it be Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee. And then the plus side with Tanner McKee, still on a rookie deal, younger. You know what I mean? Kenny Pickett's a little older. I believe around 27, 28-year-old year mark. So great opportunity for KP. I'm sure he'll take full advantage of it. Well deserving, bro. And then when we talk about Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, if I'm not mistaken, he had a top 30 visit with the Eagles back when he was coming out. And he just fits the mold of what we do here better than Kenny Pickett. And then when you talk about, honestly, even better than Tanner McKee as far as fitting the system, mobile quarterbacks, things of that nature. Smaller guy, slighter guy, but very elusive, strong arm, can make all the intermediate throws. Good addition. I think he will really grow in this quarterback room. This actually might be a great move, not only for the Eagles, but truly for him, as far as furthering his career and allowing him to stay in the league, truth be told.
And it's funny because that Kenny Pickett now is going back to the AFC North, where he had left for one season, and then now going back to the AFC North to play against the Steelers, for which we got him from. But also shout out to Kenny Pickett. I know we joke a lot about him, about his small hands and things like that, and we weren't the biggest fan of Kenny Pickett, but he is a Super Bowl champion, and also he was a lifelong Eagles fan. And it's so dope because when he retires and he's older and things like that, has his grandkids and things like that, he'll be able to say that he took some meaningful snaps in a Super Bowl. You don't really watch a Super Bowl and see too many backup quarterbacks getting snaps.
I ever have. I'm gonna keep it a bean. Like, I don't know if I ever have, for real.
I don't think I've ever had it either. And what's it called? He'll be able to say that he took some meaningful snaps. Like I said, in the Super Bowl as a QB2. So that's something to hang his hat on. You feel me? But yeah, sure. Good luck to Kenny Pickett in Cleveland.
Hey, look, and the Eagles doing what the Eagles do. We get folks paid, man. Like Kenny Pickett, as we mentioned, he didn't play a lot this year. You played a lot with the Steelers, but obviously wasn't good enough. He got you traded to the Philly. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being real. Then he comes here, he has some success within this system, this scheme. Bull gets paid, wins a ring. I mean, we get folks paid, whether that be players or coaches. It is a revolving door here, and that's just, once again, speak volumes to the culture that Howie and Jeff and Nick have set in place. So this is a great destination spot for a lot of players. Off season's long. I mean, that was a great move. We'll see what other moves are in store. But Kenny Pickett just got his damn career revitalized. Hopefully he can take the advantage of the opportunity.
And as far as free agency and things like that in the offseason, as we mentioned off camera, because we still got the second and third wave of free agency. We still have trades that can be made. We still have the draft obviously coming up next month. And then finally training camp. Like we said, a lot of people get cut through training camp and things like that. Like, you'll be shocked. You'll be like, oh man, he got cut. Okay, cool. That might be a person to pick up on a roster. But again, be patient. Howie Roseman knows what he's doing. As Big Huss mentioned earlier in the video, we got 2 Super Bowls in 7 years. So obviously he knows what he's doing.
Absolutely. Now, as free agency has been looming, but we got the draft coming up in a couple months. Let's talk some draft talk, man.
For sure, man.
Especially with some key losses. We have not glaring holes, but a couple maybe needs. We could fill in some depth pieces or get some mainline or mainstream starters. We'll see. But draft wise, what you been looking at? Positions, players?
Yep. So obviously, as we've been talking about losing key pieces and players from our organization, I kind of was all over the board with the draft. Obviously, it's going to keep evolving as days continue to go by. We'll start to be able to figure out, okay, this is the way that Howie's going with the roster and so forth and so on. But I have, like I said, a list of players. I'm not going to waste y'all time going in depth about them, but definitely some players that y'all should check out and watch their film and things like that. But as far as safety, I know we have a hole with that with CJ leaving, as we mentioned before, because I don't want to butcher his last name, but Nick Imanwori from South Carolina. Obviously, we have another tie to. Well, we have ties to Georgia. That's the pipeline from Georgia to Philly. But Malachi Starks, who we're very, very both high on, by the way. Andrew Makuba. Oh, you already know the vibes. Andrew Makuba from Texas. Solid player. Malachi Moore from Alabama and RJ Mickens from Clemson. Then I looked at some edge players. Michael Williams from Georgia. Pipeline again. Landon Jackson from Arkansas, Kyle Kennard from South Carolina, Jared Ivey from Ole Miss, and Tyler Batty from BYU. Now, corners. Obviously, we don't know what's going on with Slay. Isaiah Rogers left. We do still have some in-house options with Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks to fill that position, but obviously, more than likely, we're going to probably draft the corner but I really, really like the guy, Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame. The only thing about him, his medicals, kind of with Nakobe Dean. You have to wait to the medicals and see if that checks out. But that's a guy who is a bona fide first-round pick, but depending on his medicals, he might slide. So that might be somebody we're intrigued by, especially with Christian Parker being the secondary coach. He gets the most out of his players, and I'm pretty sure we can get the most out of him. And another guy, undersized guy, but just so instinctive. His footwork is amazing. His eye discipline is amazing. But Maxwell Harrison from University of Kentucky. That boy ran a 4.28 too. Come on now, and you put that on the opposite side of Q. They run a 4.33. Look, deep balls and all that, it ain't, and we already know how Vic plays in the secondary, umbrella. You don't let nothing get behind you. You be the deepest of the deep. You feel me? But that's a guy who I like. Now, running backs, Cam Scatterbo from Arizona State.
You're real high on him.
Very, very high. he gives me a faster Mike Allstott. Just a big bruiser, a little bowling ball. You feel me? Just bully you. I like that. You know we like physical type running backs, man. He's super solid. Travion Henderson from Ohio State, more of a speed back. Can catch out the backfield, can run in between the tackles. I truly like him. I'm high on this guy as well. Raheem Rocket Sanders from South Carolina. If you know, all right. And then finally, Jadon Blue to round out the running backs from Texas. Me and you have talked numerous times off camera about this guy. He's a special talent, burner, accelerator. That boy can get it done.
Yeah, give me Jahmyr Gibbs type vibes. Maybe not be on that level, but
like
Jahmyr Gibbs S for
I like that big. That's a great comparison.
Yeah.
And then tight ends Harold Fannin Jr. from Bowling Green, who actually has connections with Scott Loeffler, who was his head coach at Bowling Green. Oronde Gadsden II from Syracuse, Gunnar Helm from Texas, and then Elijah Arroyo from your school, your team. You. And then I have wide receivers. I didn't go much in depth about wide receivers because as you all know, I'm very, very high on Jahan Dotson coming into his second season with the Eagles. He really got traded like the week before our opening game. It was something like that, right? A week or two. It's something crazy. So he didn't even have a full off season to work with QB1, to work with the other receivers, to work with Aaron Moorhead, the receiver coach. But I do like Jack Beck from TCU. Great route runner. Very instinctive, knows how to find the open holes in zone coverage. And really not the slowest. Ran a 4.55. You see what I'm saying? Not bad at all, especially for a slot receiver. But those are definitely some people I'm interested in. Like I said, the list will keep evolving, and then some people will get crossed off the list the more that these days and weeks continue to happen here in free agency and up into the draft.
I thought those are some great names. Actually, I'm going to go in depth just on a couple of the guys that you mentioned. I have two more. Nothing too crazy, but I'm gonna start off with Malachi Starks. As you mentioned, we both love this safety for real. His NFL comp is Jesse Bates. If you don't know Jesse Bates, hey man, look him up. He's been in NFL a while. Played with Cleveland for a little bit.
Cincinnati,
excuse me. I knew it was one of those Ohio teams. Cincinnati, yep. And now the Falcons. He's a dog, but Malachi Starks, 6'1", 197, ran a 4.5 40. He's a 5-star prospect coming out of high school, so came out with a lot of tout. He's a 3-year starter at Georgia. And his mentor is Champ Bailey. If you don't know Champ Bailey, he was arguably probably the best corner to come through the University of Georgia. Had an illustrious career, highly decorated. Was the guy back early 2000s, 90s. Like, I know they talk about Deion Sanders. We all know Deion. Champ Bailey was in that next little. If Deion was obviously Hall of Fame, Champ was like right here, baby, like getting it done kind of deal. So that's his mentor, I believe. Malachi Starks, and it's either Champ Bailey's son or Champ's nephew are really close. He's like, man, I call Champ Bailey uncle. Like, that's my guy. So with that being said, he's being tutored or under the proper tutelage. He has a high football IQ. Obviously, you've been mentored by Champ Bailey. Athleticism to play in multiple spots. He could play either safety position or drop down, play a little bit of nickel, play around the box. Championship pedigree. We already know what Georgia does. We have a bunch of Bulldogs on the team already, and we see how that has panned out. So he knows how to win. I like the versatility that he brings, especially you talking about a Vic Fangio defense. He loves for his defenders to be able to do multiple things. It helps them disguise. So the offense doesn't know if this DB lines up here, that's automatic. Oh, they're going to blitz. No, things can look the same. We don't have to move pieces around. Better for the defense. I think he would be a great fit. He would be a day one starter if the Eagles draft him. And I think he's a guy we can get. Next player I want to talk about is Shamar Stewart. Texas A&M edge player. As Mr. Owens just said, he's a dog. Straight up. 6'5", 267, 4.59 40, a 1.58 10-yard split. So the get off is elite for somebody to be so long, so big, no diddy. Gives you a great blend of length, size, explosiveness. My NFL comp for him is a baby Myles Garrett. Okay. Might not have had, so when Myles Garrett came out, it was more, all right, he has athletic profile, but he also has the stats. The one gut thing with this guy is he's never totaled more than 1.5 sacks in a season, which means the production hasn't been there. So with the production not being there, there's a possibility, especially with you guys with edge rushers coming out like Abdul Carter, the guy Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. There's a possibility, even though the athletic profile's there, the production is not, that he may slip. I still feel he may go first round, early day 2 pick. But the upside is clearly there. Had a 40-inch vertical, so the explosion's there. Has great bend. Has great speed to power rush moves. Like I said, baby Myles Garrett. We couldn't get Myles Garrett, so let's go get his twin right quick. You know what I'm saying? Like for the lows, it's a possibility. As you had mentioned, also Harold Fenner Jr., Bowling Green tight end, connections already to the Eagles. Our quarterback coach, Scott Loeffler, was his head coach at Bowling Green. He had an outstanding senior year. He's 6'3", 241 pounds, ran a 4.7 40. Not the fastest, but even though his 40 wasn't blazing, somehow his run after catch, yards after catch are elite.
He just makes plays.
Yeah, my pro comp for him was Jonnu Smith, where I'm not the biggest guy, but I'm still getting off. Like, they can't really tackle me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, decorated tight end coming out. He's a first-team Associated Press All-American, MAC Player of the Year, Offensive Player of the Year. He's the first tight end in FBS history to win Conference Player of the Year. First-team All-MAC finalist for the John Mackey Award, which is the nation's top tight end. He led the FBS with 117 receptions, so he can give you volume if you need it. Mm-hmm. But he also had over 1,500 yards receiving, both single-season FBS tight end records. Like, that's crazy. 1,500 yards from a receiver. I mean, from a tight end, whether it be college or the pros. Bonkers. So I believe he had about 10 touchdowns or so. So he can give you run after catch. He can handle volume. You know what I'm saying? The pass catching ability and how he locates the ball when it's in the air, phenomenal. He might have to work on his run blocking a little bit, but like most tight ends we bring in, they're always better pass catchers versus run blockers. So that's something he would get with Stoutland, and Stoutland would get the boy right. It's not like he's undersized, 240 pounds, so decent size for a tight end, not the biggest, but decent. I think that this would be a great addition, especially in a time where Dallas Goedert might be on his way out. Yeah, I mean, he has no guaranteed money coming up in this next year or in this upcoming season. Grant Calcaterra, last year, his deal. You know what I'm saying? So bringing some youth, especially a guy with this type of explosive ability. I mean, as far as run after catch, you put him A.J. Brown, Smitty, Saquon, Jalen. Like, really, who do you stop? Any one of these dudes could take you to the crib any moment. I thought he would be a great fit. Another tight end I wanted to talk about real quick is Mason Taylor. Look, LSU tight end, son of Hall of Famer Jason Taylor. This dude is like that. 6'4", 250. His NFL comp, and this is not what I'm saying, this is what the NFL is saying. His NFL comp is Dallas Goedert, minus the injuries. He's already had a formal meeting with the team after the combine, so the team's already showing interest in him. He's a chain-moving type of receiver. They said 68% of his receptions went for first downs. So when you're targeting him, it's guaranteed you're moving the chains every time. He knows how to sit down and read zone coverages. Elite at doing that. Knows how to find the soft spots. Sure-handed, gives you a little bit of run after catch. Not quite fan and run after catch, but good run after catch. Big body guy. Played in the SEC, so you know that he's used to playing against high caliber competition. So you know the bigger stages won't phase him. I mean, he's the son of an NFL pro. His uncle is the oh my God, linebacker used to play with the Dolphins back in the day. Zach Thomas. His uncle Zach Thomas. Okay, so your dad's Jason Taylor, Hall of Famer. Your uncle Zach Thomas. I'm not mistaken. He's up for Hall of Fame if he hasn't been inducted yet. This kid knows what it takes to be a pro. Mm-hmm. Since the moment he stepped onto the field at LSU, he's done nothing but make plays. He truly has shined bright, and he has great size. I think he would be a great fit for what the Eagles like to do.
Hey, look, because that's some great research and insight on these draft prospects that we could potentially pick up here in the offseason. But before we get out of here, because I wanted to ask you a quick question. Well, two quick questions and get your insight on that. How do you feel about potentially bringing in Kyle Juszczyk as a fullback from the San Francisco 49ers? And then also, I saw a report where Boston Scott said that his heart is still in Philadelphia. He loves the organization. He never wanted to leave in the first place, and he still feels that he has some gas left in his tank. And that he said he's still open to playing football, but his preferred destination is Philadelphia. How do you feel on those two?
Ooh, those are two really good questions. I'll start with the Juszczyk one, since that was your first one. I love what Juszczyk has done with his time out there with the 49ers. What he brings, not only as a blocker, obviously, you know what I mean, you put him behind this old line, you know what I mean, and blocking for Saquon, this might take Saquon to a whole nother level. But what he brings as a pass catcher, the versatility there, that's really that's the nugget. That's the piece you really want. His versatility there to play that H position, that hybrid tight end fullback position, oh my God, would be amazing in the system, especially now that we're in a position where we're looking for a tight end. We flirted with the fullbacks game, a fullback play this year with, I forget linebacker cuz name. Ben
Van Summer.
There you go, Ben Van Summer.
And honestly, also Kyrie Blasting game too.
I was going to bring him up next. And honestly, Ben Van Summer didn't do a bad job of it. You know what I mean? It allowed the Eagles a unique position of having one roster spot that carried two positions, which is always great. You know what I mean? Because you could load it with other talent. But Kyle Juszczyk kind of gives you the same ability. I play fullback. I play a little bit H-back on into the line of scrimmage. You know what I mean? I make plays in the passing game. I pass block. I run blocks. I would love that pickup for what the Eagles are trying to do now. That would open up a whole nother aspect of this offense that we have really yet to tap into. I think that would be great. I mean, what that money would look like, how much he has left in the tank would be another something. So I would bring him in for a workout. I would like to see what that would look like. Mm-hmm. As far as Boston Scott,
the giant killer.
And I love Boston Scott. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Nice.
I thought, you know what I mean? I thought he did his thing in his time here. I would have to see what he has left in the tank, because when you bring him back, he's an older running back now. If I'm not mistaken, he's getting closer to 30. Let me look that one up real quick. Give me one moment, you all. Boston Scott. So he's 29, turning 30 on April 27th. I would have to bring him in and see what that look like. A nice change of pace back. He's another one. He also plays special teams. With him being an undersized back, he has to rely on his quickness and suddenness a lot more than most. I would have to see if that explosiveness is still there. If it's not, this is a draft, and we spoke off camera about some running backs that is loaded with talent, from the bigger backs down to the smaller ones. You could really draft a running back at any point in this draft, and you will be coming out with a solid back, especially because we're not asking a running back to come in here and be the bell cow, the main guy. We have that generational talent. You know what I mean? And then you still have Will Shipley, who, in my eyes, kind of fits the mold of a Kenny Gainwell and what he provides, similar size, similar abilities. You could add a third running back. I mean, I might be out on Boston Scott. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel there's younger, cheaper talent that we can get in the draft. I might be out on Boston. I'm in on Ben, though. Definitely in on Ben.
Okay. And that was some, Juszczyk. Yep. Mm-hmm. That was some great insight. Like you said, Boston Scott, that will be something where I definitely would like a tryout or bring him in, like you said. But I'm more focused on Kyle Juszczyk, especially since, like we talked off camera, because we haven't really had a fullback in our offense since John Ritchie, where he came and played with us in 2003 from the Oakland Raiders. And then finally, Leonard Weaver, who we had in 2009, that came from the Seattle Seahawks. We haven't had a true bona fide fullback. And then obviously now we know back in the 90s and early 2000s, the NFL was a run dominated league. And then over these past 10, 15 years or so, they try to translate to passing the football 40, 50 times. But we see that doesn't work. And now people are going to try to emulate what we did, especially getting Saquon from the Giants and him having the type of season that he did, his historic run. And then getting paid and reset the market. Now people are starting to realize, oh, you know what? We do need running backs to make our offense better. So, like you said, I'm more so we love Boston Scott, but more so we're probably out on Boston Scott and more thumbs up to Kyle Juszczyk.
For sure. Especially because you bring Boston Scott in. I'm not saying you're going to have to pay Boston top dollar because you're not, but he'll probably want like a $2 million. You could draft a rookie in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round, you know what I mean, for cheaper than that, and you got him for 4 years. Shoot, truth be told, similar to a Kenny Gainwell situation. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I think the draft is loaded with talent. I wouldn't go there. Like I said, he's approaching 30. We've already had Saquon, he's not old, but getting up there in age. I would go the younger route. And it seems to me that's the whole premises of what Howie Roseman was trying to do this offseason. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Transition to younger talent and get them out there. You know what I mean? Let them get burned a little bit, but learn along the way, coach them up, and shoot, they got us a Super Bowl ring.
Yeah. And look, real quick, I have to add on to your point about the draft. I mentioned to you off camera earlier, I was watching Adam Schefter being interviewed by 94 WIP Whip. And Adam Schefter mentioned that in the next 2 drafts, the Eagles are scheduled to have 20 picks, including 11 in the first 4 rounds and 17 in the first 5 rounds. So for everybody who's panicking and worrying about how our roster is going to look, we got to remember we're in March. Our game is not until September. We have all spring, all summer, and the beginning of fall to get our roster in order to compete for another Super Bowl. So like we said, just trust Howie. Howie has always put us in a good place and always have put together a competitive roster as long as we've been Eagle fans.
Nah, for sure. That's just what he does. Like you said, he's playing a compensatory pick game right now. We have a lot of those between this year and next year. They were talking about possibly trying to trade Dallas Goedert for at least a 4th round pick. So they're trying to get another pick there. Howie's loading up on picks right now. He is going to build this team through the draft, which honestly, we talk about the free agent moves and stuff, but that's really what he's been doing over the years. Most of the players who have started in this past Super Bowl were players that Howie drafted, with a couple of free agent signings, key ones. Let's not get it twisted, key ones. But yeah, I mean, he drafted a lot of these guys: the Jalen Carters, the Milton Williams, the Moro Jomos, the Josh Sweats. You know what I mean? Landon Dickers, all these guys. Smitty, like he drafts. So I'm not mad at him for going the draft route. And then once again, it's a little cheaper. These contracts are getting ridiculous. They are getting crazy right now. So you have to, as we said earlier, find a way to keep your core together and then fill those other voids, which I want to say cheaper talent financially. That doesn't mean that it's bad talent, but cheaper talent financially, so that you can construct a solid roster. Mm-hmm. I ain't mad at him. Get it done. And how would we trust? Like, for real. But yeah, that's the route that he's going for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And before we get out of here, man, I definitely wanted to give thanks to our supporters, our loyal supporters, and our new supporters. Y'all support and love for us does not go unnoticed. Make sure that y'all keep liking these videos, keep leaving comments in the comment section. Also, keep making sure that y'all support and subscribe to our channel. Let everybody know that y'all found y'all favorite Eagles content creators. And finally, look, don't forget to turn on that notification bell, also known as that Liberty Bell looking thingy, so you don't miss when Swoop comes out with the Eagles news and updates.
Hey, y'all heard Mr. Owens? Tap in with us, man. Tap in with us. We love our birds. We love this community. Hey, we got a long off season. We'll be dropping videos, news all year long, all the way up to the season starts to beginning. We back at it, baby. But I hope everyone's having a great week. I hope y'all are going into a great weekend. We love y'all. Appreciate the support. It's Fly Eagles, fly always. And if you don't know, I go by Big Huss.
And I go by Mr. Owens.
And this is the Main Thing podcast, where we keep the main thing the main thing. Hey, once again, love y'all. Hope y'all having a great week. Go Birds.
It was I was gonna make a lot of money doing what I wanted to do. I went after it, and it was a struggle to achieve it. But you know what? I caught that bitch. Dream chasing.